From the new details regarding HyPack and the brand new HiAssets, to Hytale content creation, speculation, and more. Don't miss out on the latest on Hycast, starting right now.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Hycast, the premier Hytale podcast. I'm your host Fezzi, and today we're joined by Powerbytes7. Welcome to the podcast. We're glad to have you with us today.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so starting off as usual, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So my name is Powerbyte. I know a lot about making models, and when I first learned about Hytale, I started making a lot of Hytale fan art. I'm mostly known for making renders, working on blockshot, and also creating HyPack.
Okay, cool. So yeah, let's jump into HyPack as well as HiAssets a little bit here, which we will dive into a little more later. In the past, you've worked on a popular Hytale-based resource pack for Minecraft called HyPack. Could you give us a little bit about that? Tell us a little bit about it, how that resource pack began?
So HyPack first started out by me making textures for animation and cropping them out from screenshots. I always like to have my work publicly available for others to use. Some good examples are my Hytale player model and my Quebec model. I figured creating a resource pack containing all of those textures would be very handy for fan art. So first I had to create a resource pack, but I didn't really know how yet. But it turned out to be a lot easier than I expected. I first posted the resource pack on CurseForge and then I made a post about it on Reddit. The pack got quite some attention, which was very nice. It was even used in a video, which now has about 6,000 likes. There were also people who helped me update the pack. Someone on Twitter, Flap Miller, he made his own mod around it and it's called HyBlocks. It adds some extra blocks which weren't added within the resource pack.
Yeah, and unfortunately you recently did announce on Twitter that you had to discontinue HyPack and have since removed it from CurseForge. So can you give us a little explanation on the situation that caused you to take it down and what will happen next?
Yeah, so basically Noxy contacted me and said HyPack in Minecraft was causing them some discomfort. Hytale aims to be separate from Minecraft, which put HyPack in an odd spot. They weren't really fussy about copyright, just the fact it was in Minecraft. I licensed this as non-commercial, but unfortunately it was used commercially in some places. We talked in voice chat for a bit and I decided I'd take down the project. I also asked if I can share the textures and models without them being in a resource pack, and that was fine. So I recently set up an archive for them and it's called HiAssets. I'm hosting it on GitHub and it's publicly available for everyone.
Okay, so speaking a little bit on HiAssets, it's a project that you've taken on alongside fellow artists like Deck LXIV and Cryonic. So how does this project differentiate from HyPack and what can you tell us about it?
HyPack was a resource pack and that's purely for Minecraft gameplay. But HiAssets is focused on making textures and models for animation. HiAssets is essentially a zip file and it contains models usable in Blender and all of the textures that HyPack has. Users are able to make contributions and report issues on GitHub. This makes it a lot easier to see what's being worked on.
Okay. So do you have an overall goal set for HiAssets and what does this archive offer for the community?
The goal of HiAssets is to create assets usable to kickstart animation and renders before Hytale's out. Considering my work will be basically obsolete on release, I won't be adding in too much. I just want to create it in case anyone which wants to give Hytale renders or animation a try can do that.
Okay.
If it turns out to be used more than I'm currently expecting, I'll surely work on it more, but for now I'm not adding in too much. The latest thing I will be adding in is some extra skin colors for the player model.
Okay, you're clearly quite talented in your trade and have many great fellow artists. Sorry, I'm stuttering here at your side. Do you have any plans to monetize your future assets or work outside of regular commissions with your stuff you will make, or remain mostly free and open source?
Perhaps when Hytale's out. I don't really feel like monetizing content when it's not out yet.
Fair.
So when the game is out, I will probably be working on all sorts of stuff, but I think it's still a bit too early to talk about it now.
That's totally fair. So let's hop into Hytale content creation. So we've seen many creative tools within Hytale, from world building to model making and animation. Based on what we haven't seen yet, what are some creative tools that you would like to see built into Hytale and what benefit would they bring?
I'd love to have support for exporting worlds to 3D models. It would make a huge difference for animation if it is well supported. It would also be amazing for 3D printing. You'd be able to make a physical copy of your own world.
Right.
Another one would be a replay-like system. It would record every game event and allow you to replay it. This would make the creation of montages a lot easier and make them look better as well. We don't know a lot about the movie making tools at this point in time, so the system might already be in place.
Right.
I also think that the movie making tools for animation storyboarding could be amazing when you're making your own animated shorts.
I think that's actually a pretty interesting thing. I haven't heard many people talk about the idea of actually like exporting a world or a model you've made and 3D printing it, which could actually be pretty cool. So that's actually a pretty interesting thing to think about. So yeah, I think that could be something that's quite original. I mean,
yeah, it would also open up possibilities for builders, for example.
Right. It'd be sick. So anyway, when it comes to software, you have a clear and vocal preference for Blockbench over the counterpart Craft Studio. Considering that Hytale's model maker is going to be based on Craft Studio, why do you think Hytale chose Craft Studio as their choice?
I think it is because Craft Studio was mostly based on simplicity.
Right.
The Hytale model maker aims to make modeling more accessible, so hiring the developer behind Craft Studio was a good step. I also think Craft Studio isn't necessarily a bad program, but it really lacks features that are essential for a good modeling workflow. Some good examples are the lack of vertex snapping, no automatic UV unwrapping, and a painful lack of an undo button. The Hytale model maker already looks a lot better from what I've seen. Undoing actions will surely be a thing, so that's great.
Yeah.
The developers have also said it will run on HTML5, which means it will basically run in your browser.
Right.
Another great thing is the built-in animation editor. It's going to make your models feel a lot more alive than what you can achieve in Minecraft.
Oh yeah, totally. Hytale has given many sneak peeks into their model maker in the past. What are some of the features of the model maker that you liked, and why are they important?
In terms of purely modeling, the best part is the online collaboration feature for me. But the magic mainly happens in the custom model support Hytale has. Minecraft models lack the ability to be animated well.
Right.
In a model maker, you have the ability to create your own custom animations. This really makes everything feel alive and contributes a lot to the quality of the game.
Yeah.
Another great thing is the attachment system. It makes it a lot easier to create variations of a creature by simply changing the clothing, for example.
True. So, is there something you haven't seen yet from the model maker in particular that you believe should be included?
I made a small video on it some time ago, and I think it would be great to have vertex snapping for complex shapes, exporting mesh models, for example, with Blender, and the possibility to paint on top of the model.
Makes plenty of sense. So, we always come upon this part in every Hycast where we dive a little bit into speculation. So, whatever we talk about future, everyone keep in mind, it's speculation anyway. As we await Hytale's release, some members of the community, artists in particular, have begun suggesting that Hytale's creative tools should be released early. Do you think Hytale should give early access to creative tools like the model maker, or would this be a bad idea?
As much as I'd love to try them out, I don't think it's a good idea. The Hytale model maker is primarily focused on making assets for Hytale.
Right.
Without the game being out, it really isn't that special. Considering there are already a lot of great options, including Blockbench and ModelBench, it doesn't have much of a use now.
Fair enough.
If they were to release the model maker early, it would also mean less polish, because they can't make much major code changes anymore.
That's actually a pretty fair point. There is a lot of, I mean, they kind of actually mentioned that in a way. They did mention that, like, hey, this is based on Craft Studio, so if you want to get used to it, try that. So that actually does make quite a bit of sense. So, another area of discussion within the community is the highly anticipated Hytale beta, which, of course, has been subject to tons of speculation, even on this show ever since the trailer dropped in 2018. So, how do you think Hytale should handle the beta, and should they even do one?
I think the beta is in a bit of an odd spot right now. When they released the trailer, they expected they would be able to ship the beta somewhat soon.
Right.
But the trailer made the game a lot bigger than any of them anticipated, thus having to delay the release. Noxy tweeted, ultimately Hytale is going to be either an epically successful game or a turbo faceplant.
Right.
This gives me the feeling that they are planning to do one big release. Expectations for the game are higher than ever at the moment. So when the beta goes live, people expect it to meet expectations they have set by the trailer.
True.
These factors combined make me believe that developers will either skip the beta or go for a very big release. So when they will release the beta, it will be a functional version of the game, which is essentially a normal version of the game, or they will just skip it. The developers are also taking extra time in order to develop the game, so people will be upset if the first playable version doesn't meet their expectations. I do think making extra time for development was a good move, because making big changes to the code is harder when everyone is already playing it and making mods for it.
True. I actually, that kind of reminds me back to a interview that 30virus did with Jim from Stolendale when he mentioned that the success of the trailer kind of upset a lot of things internally in terms of like their plans. Hytale, like the way I see it, would probably have been out by now, but the amount of like just hype generated by that trailer, I think, pushed everything back a while, and they just went back into like really deep development. So it makes sense. It makes sense if they would skip a beta, because now people are expecting like some perfect game to come out of this. So it makes a lot of sense. That point of view makes a lot of sense. So Hytale's trailer has received obviously millions of views on YouTube, and that came very close to claiming the most awaited game of the year at the Golden Joysticks. So considering the immense potential player base waiting for Hytale, how much should Hytale cost, and why do you think this is the right amount?
I think Hytale should cost between $20 and $60, with the sweet spot being at $35. Making Hytale free could open the game up for a lot more players, but it would also create a lot of monetization problems.
True.
I used to play a game called Dirty Bomb, which was free to play with a fair monetization model, but the developers had to stop working on it because it wasn't getting enough attention. I'd much rather have paid $30 in order to play it, because I was never interested in the cosmetics it had. If Hytale decides to go paid, it wouldn't have to face those issues.
True. Free to play brings its whole like arsenal of issues, including like there's more cheaters that could hop into the game on an alt. You know, there's the monetization model that's it can be very much like a divider for the community, because like if you have like something that seems a little too pay to win, people are going to be very angry. If you have a whole bunch of cosmetics or anything that locks into game content that's expensive, people are going to be angry because you're going to be paying more in the long run than you would for a normal game. So
yes,
I definitely
a bit
agree
more
with that.
About Dirty Bomb. There was actually a lot of discussion by a YouTuber who made some sort of rant on it. And he said the game was very pay to win, but it really wasn't. It was just the fact that the cosmetics look shiny and they had maybe 3 extra perks, but you can already get those with a lower tier card. Yeah,
and that's the thing. It gets dicey even if it's not really pay to win. Like people just don't really like microtransactions after like, the past couple years of video games. So that I completely agree with that perspective. I think Hytale should cost like $30, $40, somewhere around there, and you just buy the game and you have the game. I think that's how it should be 100%.
Yeah,
so
the first impressions are very important.
Super important. So you want something good, even if it's at a price tag. So for sure. So elaborating a little bit more on the pricing, should Hytale have microtransactions if it was a free-to-play model, and what kind? Or do you think they should avoid it altogether?
I think Hytale can have microtransactions either way, but they should be careful because they're quite risky. Things like having built-in server hosting, similar to Minecraft Realms for casual players, would be something that is relatively easy to set up and works really well.
Right.
A riskier option would be a marketplace for cosmetics, because it opens up a lot of challenges. The Minecraft Marketplace recently had to deal with a partner that was scamming employees by not giving them the full amount of money promised. I'm not sure if it's a good idea for Hytale, but it could also open up a lot of opportunities if it goes well.
True. Yeah, the thing is about like Bedrock, for example, is that marketplace has kind of come under a lot of controversy in the past. So I don't know if Hytale would really want that. I have a feeling personally they're just going to make it paid, because the very little that I have spoken with Noxie, and it was in an old Discord. He didn't confirm anything, obviously, but they seemed like they wanted to lean towards pay. Like they were kind of listing more pros for a paid system rather than a free to play system. So I personally think they're going to kind of go for more of a paid, just, standard model, which I hope for, because I think that would be the best case.
I'm hoping for that too.
For sure, dude. So very few games tend to achieve the level of hype that Hytale was able to muster, let alone in such a short amount of time. Do you think Hytale will live up to the hype that is being generated around it, or are expectations kind of too impossible to live up to?
I think Hytale will live up to expectations for the most part. The developers are taking their time to make the game a big success. I don't doubt their dedication to the game. Everything they've shown so far will likely be in the game. One thing I do think will help them is people discover the game is very different from Minecraft on release. Hytale is often compared to Minecraft 2, so once people start playing, differences will be very obvious.
Yeah, I agree with that. It is compared to Minecraft 2, and that's really just like because it's voxel. I think that people immediately like click onto Minecraft when they see a game that has cubes, just kind of stereotypically, because it makes sense, and plus it's made by like the biggest server in Minecraft, so I can see where that comparison comes from. But I think that's true, and I think this kind of harks back to an older Hycast where we talked about that it'll probably feel more like a Roblox than a Minecraft, which will be very interesting to see, because that's going to throw off a lot of people, probably in a good way. So it's going to be cool to see how that turns out. Now, assuming that they do live up to a majority of the hype, do you expect Hytale to claim some prestigious titles like Game of the Year, for example?
I think Hytale fully deserves it. Some sort of reward would make sense. It's hard to estimate though. During the Golden Joystick Awards, the entire stream chat was rooting for Hytale.
Right.
But Cyberpunk ended up taking up the prize. I think Hytale can end up getting very big, but it remains hard to estimate how big.
Yeah, true. I think on the internet, kind of like Hytale will win. If you ask the internet, I think that Hytale will win in pretty much really any scenario, because that's true. Hytale like won the chat in that glow stick stream for sure. It was it was pretty obvious who like wanted it, but Cyberpunk won. So honestly, I think if the game comes out and if it's anywhere near as big as like Minecraft, which I think it could pull that off. Like I think it'll win tons of awards if it actually manages to pull that off. It kind of just depends how
I think they already have public opinion on their side, so that's great.
Right. Everyone thinks Hytale's going to be amazing. There is almost kind of a Cube World thing going on with it right now, because everyone's like, "Oh, Hytale's going to be amazing," but when is it coming out? Like it's coming out in a year, maybe. So. Hopefully that doesn't hopefully that weight doesn't like start steering off people, but I think Hytale can pull off some like crazy things when it comes out. So
I recently showed it off to someone and they were like, "Whoa, when is it coming out?" And it's going to take some time for it to come out. It's
going to be a little while, unfortunately, but I think it could pull off huge things. So moving on, what do you think is going to happen to the Hypixel Minecraft server after the release of Hytale, and do you believe there's a link between recent Hypixel game modes like Skyblock and the multiplayer experience in Hytale?
I'm not sure, because it really depends on the community surrounding it.
True.
A lot of people will move over to Hytale, but it's still hard to estimate how it will affect the core community. The server will be kept up as long as possible, but once the player count starts dropping, I expect the amount of new minigames and updates will decrease.
It's actually kind of funny to think about, because like if Hytale kills Minecraft, Hytale would kind of be killing Hypixel's own server, which would be kind of funny of a turn. It would be funny. It'd be a funny turnout. So they'd probably have to just completely switch over to Hytale at that point, which, I mean, if Hytale's that popular, I guess that's kind of something we'd want.
Yeah, they're
not
kind
like
of floating
Hypixel
away.
to shut down.
They're going to, they're kind of floating away on their own boat.
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting way to think about it, which might happen. I mean, it's not impossible. It depends how big Hytale will be, like you said. So
we're gonna move on to our
thing. Oh yeah. So we're gonna move on to our community questions segment. We only have one this week though, and it comes from Ethos Paladin. Would like to know, of course, what is the fascination with burning Quebecs?
Well, I don't have an obsession with making things burn, but when I'm bored, I just like to create things others consider to be cursed, because it can just be a lot of fun to make. Mostly I'm just laughing during the entire process of creating it, because it gets more ridiculous every second. When I saw a ragdoll tutorial for Blender, I just knew I have to make this for Hytale.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. I mean, that's been a thing forever though, like burning Quebecs. Like ever since like the beginning of like the Hytale community, I remember like everyone just like, it was like, I think even in a Discord I was in, there was a movement that started for like eradicating the Quebecs. It was weird. But yeah. I mean, you know, it's how it is. Anyway,
well, it's still entertainment, so it's fun.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's hilarious. So with all that being said, that's all the questions we had for you today. If there's anything else you'd like to say, socials or anything like that, feel free to do so now.
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram, which I have somehow, and Twitter and YouTube.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us, man. It's been an absolute pleasure. Make sure to follow Powerbyte on Twitter. All of their links will be in the description below. As always, thank you for tuning into this week's podcast, and consider subscribing if you want to hear more. This has been your host, Fezzy, and of course, we'll see you around here next time.
Yeah, thank you.
This video was sponsored by Virtual Gladiators. Virtual Gladiators have everything you need to make your very own Minecraft or Hytale server. Click the link in the description to find out more.